Hey everyone, welcome back to Breadbox Racing and 4x4. We don't have Braden here today, but we are back, finally, on the MG. Time to address the biggest problem this car has, and that's rust. We've all heard the tales of how these old British cars rust, and this one's no exception, as you've seen in a bunch of previous videos. So now I have to deal with the bulk of the worst of the rust, and it's the most technically challenging part of the rust repairs, and that's the rocker assembly. So there's a few steps here. First, I had to brace this thing. You can kind of see what I've done here to brace it. It's got a leg, comes down to the floor, and I've used the door points to hold this and this straight relative to each other, then braced it to the roll bar. Now I'm not keeping this roll bar, so that's why I've done it that way. I don't mind welding to that, and it's a good anchor point to a lot of the frame in the back half of the car. And then the second step, obviously, is cut out the rot. Now that means it's all of this. I do get to keep this one piece of metal here, I think. I hope, because if that has to go, then it's really a big job. But there's going to be a lot of cutting, and honestly, that's probably going to be the bulk of this video. Anyways, we're going to get to cutting here, and then there's going to be some more cutting. Then once all the rust is out, there's going to be some more cutting until everything is nice and clean. Yeah, then once it's all finally done, we can actually put this up in place. I'm going to use clecos and clamps and stuff to brace it all, let it sit for a few days, come back, make sure nothing's moved before I start welding stuff. You're going to see how it goes as I go. Probably a lot of this I'm going to have to figure out as I go, but I'm a pretty smart guy, so I think I'm more than capable. Anyways, I'll be back with you in a few minutes once this is cut out, and I'll try and time lapse this. Before you bite my head off, I'm only using the Sawzall for bulk removal. Anything that's close to metal I want to keep, I'm using hand tools and pneumatic tools and being careful. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so it's worth noting what I'm actually cutting here. The part you saw me just removing is the frame rail that's rotten, and that attaches to the rear frame rail, which is in behind. I've still got some left in this picture, but what I'll be removing is everything up to this line here. All of this material that I've hatched is what I need to remove still, as well as a little bit along the bottom here. And then everything will be out of the way. I can put the new stuff in. I do have to patch some sheet metal along here and there. All right, guys, so here's the inside. You can see this section of old metal here. This is the main tie-in point between the frame assembly and the rear part of the car that runs forward to aft or front to back, and your rocker assembly. So this piece is kind of important. That's why I've tried to save as much of it as I can. There is some rust repair I have to do on the underside, unfortunately. I'll show you that in the next video. But to remove the spot welds on the top, I just drilled them out with it was either a 1/4 or 5/16 drill bit. Because the layers on the bottom I didn't need to worry about saving, so I just punched through with a regular twist drill. You can see this part. This is your heel board brace. Mine was rotted out. This part I didn't actually even remove with a grinder, I don't think. I just removed it with a pair of tin snips. But so I have to go out and remove the spot welds for this part. Still in there. And there's still a bunch of alignment work that has to happen here. It kind of comes with having bought aftermarket panels instead of the genuine ones. It is what it is. We'll get there. We'll get the result. It's just going to be more work. That's all. My fitment up front is pretty good, but there's still some work to do. And you can, well, you can't see it, but I have to do a patch to the bulkhead. Now, thankfully, it's a really easy patch. It's just square. Just cut the whole section out and welded new sheet metal. Won't be hard at all. But it does have to get done. And then I have to replace the toe board as well and remove what remains of the original floorboard from this section of frame rail. And then before I can actually go and install all of this, I got to put in the cross member. So I'll have to do a little bit of cutting on the other side, just enough to get access to this and put the new one in. It won't be attached to anything over there yet, but it needs to be in the right location. So that's something I'm still going to have to do before I can weld this in place. So I'll show you that in the next video, as well as a bunch of this, but all of the rest of the cutting and grinding stuff, I'm going to do that off camera. You guys don't need to see it. You've seen it a million times. All the technical, hard to do stuff I've already done. I'll show a picture here of what the frame rail assembly looks like in a cross out or a cross-cut view. But back here, you do have to remove all the layers, and there's up towards the front of this, obviously there isn't much gap between this part and this part. So you have to be very careful with removal. As you saw in the video there, I was drilling out spot welds from the outside with a carbide burr, and then running a seam ripper through it. So yeah, that's that. There's still some patchwork I have to do on the back for the wheel well. I still got to order a fill panel, but we're most of the way there now. So, what else? Oh, we also have a bunch of shiny parts for the front cross member for the brakes and the bushings and all that. So I'm going to make a video of rebuilding the entire front suspension and steering assembly. And then I got flywheel and clutch and all that stuff to finish that part of the swap, so that as soon as I have this cross member in here, I can build a transmission support. So I'll show you how that goes, because there's going to be a little bit more measuring involved. I know, shocking, right? So all in all, we're making good progress. There's been a few surprises along the way, a couple of extra parts that I didn't expect to have to order, but that's how it goes with builds like this. So anyways, I'm going to leave it off there, guys. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing.